So we're crossing live straight to the Spanish La Liga. Yeah. So yeah, we'll start with the defending champions, Blaugrana, Barcelona. They took on Las Palmas, and yes, they did emerge victorious with a 0-0 over Las Palmas. And look, man, it's another win for Xavi and his co, right? So look, let's get straight into what happened in this particular encounter, right? So Barcelona, they had Rafinha and João Felix to thank, for their victory over Las Palmas. And it was actually the duo that combined to good effect, for the only goal of the game. Rafinha, he was a menace all night for the visitors. He had a goal that was controversially chalked off in the first half. And it was actually his run that saw the goalkeeper Alvaro Valles sent off after 29 minutes, But look, Blaugrana, as I can say about Rafinha, Rafinha has now opened the scoring, in La Liga, in a La Liga match, for Barcelona for the seventh time. Only Robert Lewandowski has done it more times for the club in any competition since the start of the 2022-2023 season. Robert Lewandowski has done it on 10 occasions, right? So look, Barcelona, what could be said is that, Barcelona could have scored more goals. I can tell you that for a fact. They could have scored more goals. It has just been that story of their season, really, because Barcelona haven't simply been clinical in front of goal against the 10 men of Las Palmas. Lewandowski hit the bar. Fermin Lopez flashed an effort just wide, while Felix really ought to have made it 2-0 but somehow conspired to miss from close range. Yet ultimately, it was actually Rafinha and Felix, who made the difference at the end, when both, are being linked with Barcelona exit. And the two players, are thought to, be eager to stay, but, they may need more contributions like this to convince the club to actually keep a hold of them, right? And let's just say Lewandowski, he was rested. Xavi insisted before the match that, he wouldn't rest Robert Lewandowski and Ilkay Gundogan. And it was true to his word as both players continued in the starting 11. Vitor Roque had been tipped to actually start after Lewandowski played extra time and penalties in midweek for Poland, but was once again on the bench and only saw 9 minutes. Perhaps understandably because Lewandowski looked a little tired and certainly not sharp as he had been before the international break. And that's the thing about Xavi, man. He should have given him a rest. Give the Polish striker a rest. Because Barcelona are going to need him in the Champions League, But look, he did manage to earn himself a rest though, because the Poland international saw yellow for, taking his time walking off when he was subbed, to actually earn one match, ban for 5 bookings, all of which means that he will miss the trip to Cadiz, next time out, in La Liga, along with João Cancelo as well as Inigo Martinez. But perhaps, more importantly, he's not in danger of missing the El Clasico, which follows next, and, he should be fresh for the 2 ties against PSG. And another thing that I can say about Blaugrana, is that Blaugrana, they have improved in terms of form since Xavi announced his decision to actually leave, and, they have actually continued on Saturday with another victory for the Catalans. They have now won 7 of their last 9 La Liga outings to actually move, on to 67 points from 30 games, and they will actually be hoping for a huge favor from Ernesto Valverde's Athletic Bilbao when they face Real Madrid later. So, look, Barcelona's defense is also in great shape ahead of the clash with Kylian Mbappe and their former winger Ousmane Dembele, in the Champions League. And it's now 5 clean sheets in a row for Barcelona. And they are much improved backline because now Barcelona have not lost any of their last, 9 La Liga games. They've actually won 7 and drawn twice, keeping a clean sheet in each of their last 5, winning 4 of those ones and actually drawing 1. That is basically, their best run, without conceding in the competition, since August, to October 2022, which was 6. So the Barca defense is on lock, ladies and gentlemen, it's on lock. And let's give credit to Pau, Kubarsi. Once again, he was so impressive, whilst Jules Koundé was, rightly praised by Xavi for excellent outings. And I could say for a fact that Koundé, he has played as many matches at an excellent level. And, based on Jules Koundé's performance, now I can say this based on my observation, right, is that, he's always seeking to improve, and he's very committed no matter where he plays, right? He's always there, he's always raising his hand, and it's difficult to find players, who defend the way he does, right? But Barcelona were also able to keep Ronald Araujo in the reserves amid concerns over his fitness, with the hope that he will be fully fit and fresh for the trip to Paris, right? And Barcelona will certainly need their defense to be at its very best level if they are to progress in the Champions League. With Luis Enrique's side, set to provide a stern test. But yeah, I hope that Barcelona do emerge victorious over, PSG. They need to really beat PSG. Definitely. And then, yes, Valencia playing to a goalless draw with Mallorca at home. It was pretty much of an eventful clash, at the Mestalla. And, let's just say, Valencia, they welcomed, RCD Mallorca, to the Mestalla, right? And it was basically like a 6:30, p.m. kickoff, South African time. And Valencia, I can just say, they had a slow start to the game. Basically it was like Mallorca that was dictating play, in the early, goings, amidst the rainy weather conditions at the Mestalla. And, based on what we witnessed in this particular clash with Valencia and Mallorca at the Mestalla is that, shortly after, Valencia were forced into an unfortunate injury substitution. With Roman, Yaremchuk, making way for Diego Lopez up front, right? So, which was very unfortunate for Valencia. And we saw Fran, Perez, tried his luck from the wing, but his effort was just, it just flashed just wide of the mark. And then moments later, Valencia, thought, that, they should have been awarded a spot kick for a handball against, Mascarell, alas. But after a swift, video assistant review, the referee overturned his initial on-field decision, I meant to say, in an eventful stanza at the Mestalla, because as well as what must be worth noting is that even in the closing stages of the game, of the first, stanza, we saw end-to-end frantic spell with both sides looking to actually break the deadlock. Diego Lopez, saw a low drive frizz just past the post on the stroke of halftime. Whereas, the first half, finished locked together at 0-0 with all to play for in the second half. And Valencia, came out guns blazing in the second half, looking, for the opening goal with Hugo Duro enjoying a clit edge cross strike, which flashed wide off the mark. Then his fellow teammate, Pepe Lu, forced a grief, into a save with a peach of a free kick, which was nearly pounced on the rebound by Peter Federico in a whirlwind, start to the closing half, And I can just say, Ruben Baraja, made a double substitution over the hour mark, where, Fulenkua as well as Peter Federico, who made way for Xavi Guerra as well as Jesus, Vasquera respectively. And Valencia, they continued knocking on the door with Hugo Duro as the main attacking outlet for Valencia, who an informed, Dominic, Grief was constantly taunting him at Valencia, kept on enjoying forays, into the opposition box. And Valencia made another double substitution, with Fran Perez as well as Hugo, Gulamon, coming off for Alberto Mari as well as Selim Amala, for the remainder of the half time, plus, stoppage time left to play. Both teams were actually hands on deck, in a box-to-box ending to the game, looking to snatch away all 3 points in the dying, embers of the game. Alas, the scoreline, remained unchanged, and Valencia, and Mallorca played out, an eventful goalless draw. But Valencia, will visit Granada in midweek, back to their postponed fixture due to the tragic fire dating back to the late February. So, basically, both sides will be disappointed with the fact that they have to walk away with the goalless draw. But look, I guess, even if you can't win, I think a point is actually positive. It's positive, and you just have to look forward and keep on, pushing, because it seems like on the side of Valencia, the ball just didn't want to go in. But at least they continue keeping clean sheets, right? That's what's more important at the end of the day, is that if you don't score goals, at least ensure that you keep a clean sheet, that you don't concede goals. Oh, go Pete boy. Yeah. Sergio Ramos, turning 38 years old. Yeah. He's the one who clinched the victory for Sevilla, right? Away to Getafe. And, what a perfect birthday gift, man. What a perfect birthday gift. Getting the winning goal for your boyhood club. Right. That was crazy, man. So, Saturday's La Liga action, they It actually featured a host of sides battling relegation. And look, man, Sergio Ramos enjoyed a special birthday gift back in Madrid, right? So let's get straight to that encounter between Getafe as well as Sevilla, where Sevilla emerged by a goal to nil. Now Sevilla, they continue their push, into mid-table this season, after securing a crucial 1-0 away victory at Getafe. And look, Sevilla, have just picked up their second victory in 6 league games, as they actually look to avoid any lingering possibilities of a relegation scrap. And Ramos was front row at the center for the visitors as he nodded home inside the first 3 minutes to celebrate his 38th birthday. So Ramos, the 38 years old, man, he's still going and he's still pushing, going strong. So look, the veteran defender was then controversially denied a second goal before the break, as VAR ruled against him for offside. But let's just say Getafe, they never really threatened a revival after the restart, as they now sit 7 points above Sevilla in the table. So what an important victory for Sevilla. And we go as well to another relegation threatened side, Almeria. I guess, Almeria losing by 3-0 at home to Osasuna. Almeria, have already avoided, the unwanted record of failing to win a La Liga game this season, but they, are nailed on for relegation because the hosts, they were blown away by Osasuna early on in the clash, with 2 goals inside the opening 10 minutes from Jose Manuel, Arenas, as well as Ante Budeman, Budeman, the Croatian. That rapid start, set the tempo for the context. And, basically Almeria was simply unable to recover from the setback, as Iker Munoz stepped home a third after the break. And, Ante Budeman has been on sublime form for, Osasuna, because that's basically his 16th goal of the season for Osasuna, right? And look, Osasuna haven't been all too bad this season, to say the least. They haven't been all too bad, but I guess it's something that we could actually say that, they just haven't been able to find a rhythm in their play. They struggle with those combination, plays. But, it was an important victory for them, and a great victory for them away from home to that relegation threatened, Almeria. So, Real Madrid, they've basically now extended the gap at the top of the La Liga table. And I understand that Xavi is still optimistic of the fact that, Barcelona stand a chance of winning La Liga, but I'm not. There's no way Real Madrid are going to slip up. Yes, they still the El Clasico to play, but there's no way Real Madrid is going to let it slip anytime soon. So they won comfortably at home, even though Athletic Bilbao started the game so well. They had more of the possession, but, possession doesn't win you games. It's actually the goals that do win you games. So it was actually Rodrigo that was on hand, with the brace to actually get Los Blancos the win at the Santiago Bernabeu. And it is needless to say that Real Madrid, were comfortable as they saw off a brave Athletic, Bilbao side, who are certainly, were no pushovers. Despite the 2-0 scoreline, at a purple-tinted Estadio Santiago Bernabeu on a Sunday evening, and Rodrigo was the one who ended his goal drought. He scored both goals, for the home team, and to actually maintain Real Madrid's 8-point lead at the top of La Liga, against the side, who came into this game having, only lost twice since October. Okay, so what can I just say is that, the game was always, going to be an incredibly tricky one, for Real Madrid's offensive approach. As, Athletic, had the second best defensive record in La Liga just behind Real Madrid. And they've only conceded 12 goals in 14 away games. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that, Carlo Ancelotti didn't hold back with his offensive weapons, utilizing Brahim Diaz, who came in place for Vinicius Jr. directly, opting not to actually engage in the kind of aerial physical battle that Joselu can provide and that Athletics defense, feel more comfortable with. And it is needless to say as well that, it was a game that actually had a few chances. It was another Brazilian, Rodrigo, who produced a moment of magic with an impressive strike from distance, for his first goal for the club since February, right? And it was just as clinical to add a second, on the break, just to show that, Real Madrid don't have to miss the absence of Vinicius Jr., but with or without him, Atletico would have also had provided proved to have been a difficult opponent, to actually break down, and they were. And you also have to look at the fact that, look, Athletic Bilbao is a squad that often tends to rotate. Athletic Bilbao's next game is the Copa del Rey final against Mallorca. And as such, it was illogical that, like, the former Barcelona coach, he would look to actually rotate, right? And this Bilbao team, made a total of 5 changes to the lineup that beat Alaves before the international break. Though some saw recalls for regulars such as, Ohian Sanchez, while others included an enforced change as the injured, Nicholas Williams was replaced by Alex Berengu. And, most notably in Spain's number one, Unai Simon was left on the bench to give the 23-year-old, Julian Aguirre-Zabala, his first La Liga appearance of the season. So it was a comfortable victory for Real Madrid. And, we would have actually seen Ede Militao for the first time since August. We would have loved to have seen him. But for the first time since, his ACL injury, against the same opposition back in August, Ede Militao was in Real Madrid's matchday squad. But, pre-match, Ancelotti hinted that, he would have minutes, saying maybe not. But, he's not like really 100% fit, and it's something that will have to go game by game. And it may be the fact that maybe tomorrow, maybe in the Champions League, he will return for that much anticipated clash against City. But look, Real Madrid do have firepower in that central defensive pair with Nacho Fernandez as well as Antonio Rudiger. Another thing is that what's worth noting is that Real Madrid were dressed in purple and Athletic Bilbao were dressed in white. So that's the question that I was asking myself. Why were they, wearing purple? But the reason why Real Madrid was wearing purple is because of their new white 3 shirt from Adidas, and it's only available for $225, on the club's website. And it's described as a fusion of elegance and tradition, which continues the club's collaboration with White 3, with another limited edition jersey to follow the previous black effort. With Real Madrid wearing purple and testing out, the lighting of the shut roof at the Bernabeu, Athletic Bilbao opted to wear their all-white, away kit. It was an unusual sight, to say the least, and one that took, some getting used to for those, at the Bernabeu, even for the minority who visited the club store to splash out on the new jersey. But what I can also say is that question marks are there is Rodrigo finally back due to the fact that he scored the brace, giving Real Madrid a much important win over Bilbao at home at the Santiago Bernabeu. We all know that Rodrigo's form, tends to come in waves. Goalless streaks are, followed by non-stop flow strikes, and very few people at the Bernabeu on Saturday night would have guessed that the Brazilian had not hit the back of the net in a Real Madrid shirt since February. Following his chip over Unai Simon, for Brazil at the Bernabeu in the international break, it seemed like his confidence seemed to be back. And, his finishing was definitely on point. Gone was any hesitancy or doubt in his game with his first goal from distance, showing his confidence to hit the ball from so far out. While in the second period, he carried the ball on the counter and he showed incredible composure to actually cut back to the near post and actually add a second for his third brace of the season. And in doing so, he matched his goal return across 14 games in La Liga in just one night. And if he's finding form now, then there's no better time to actually do so, right? As for Toni Kroos, he seems to never be aging, and if one performance actually stood out, other than the goal getter in attack, it was actually the veteran German midfielder Toni Kroos, who showed that, returning to international duty with Germany would not only have any consequential impact on his shape for Real Madrid, but having played 179 minutes, against elite opposition in France and the Netherlands at 34 years old, after coming out of international retirement, it was reasonable to have doubts. Despite any concerns, the veteran did produce the kind of all-action display that, has made Real Madrid so keen to tie down his future beyond the summer. Playing 81 minutes, he completed 92% of his passes, 77 passes, creating one chance, won both of his tackles and 6 of 8 duels, with, tackling akin to Eduardo Camavinga's sprawling energy and distribution, like only the one he can provide. And it was an imperious display once again from Toni Kroos, to say the least. All right, in the final clash, as we wrap up La Liga, Right. So what I can just tell you is that yeah, man, Atletico did emerge victorious. You know, away at the Yellow Submarine. So basically, let's just say Atletico Madrid have now moved 2 points clear of Athletic Bilbao in La Liga, with 8 matches remaining. But they still trailing. Barcelona. They basically like still trailing Girona by 7 points. So they basically far off like the top two, right? But let's just get straight into the action of the yesterday's game between Villarreal as well as Atletico Madrid. So Saul Niguez, right? Well, he was the one that slotted home an 87th minute winner to actually help Atletico Madrid, to a 2-1 victory over Villarreal on Monday evening, which means that Atletico Madrid now they move up to fourth in La Liga. Now with Diego Simeone's side, they actually capitalized on Athletic Bilbao's defeat. Away to the log leaders Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu on Sunday evening to actually move back into the Champions League qualification places, even though they had to leave it too late. It was actually Axel Witsel, who nodded Atletico Madrid ahead after 9 minutes, but, Alexander Soloth, pegged back for the visitors, after halftime of an entertaining clash, right? But let's just say, man, the substitution, what a super sub that was, man. Saul, he decided the game, It was perhaps like an even game, both, it was pretty much in the balance, both teams really, it was like they were getting stuck into those challenges in the middle of the park. And, you could tell that like in the final stages, just less than 5 minutes, after coming on, Saul was the difference maker at the end of the day. And now that moves Atletico Madrid to 2 points clear of Athletic Bilbao with 8 matches remaining. Still trailing third place Girona by what? 7 points. So what can I just say? What a difference maker Saul was. And let's just look at the fact that how, it was like the pace of play and the intensity that like, it decides how, you have to improve in that regard, because if you do improve in that regard, that's how you are able to actually like, get those crucial victories. So it was actually Witsel, the Belgian midfielder, who drew first blood with a fine header from Rodrigo Riquelme's, corner, twisting his body to actually meet the ball. And at the near post, he directed it and he looped home at the far, towards the far corner. And the 35-year-old Belgian, he had only scored once before for Atletico Madrid against Villarreal last November. So clearly he does like scoring against the Yellow Submarine. And Soloth, he was the one that actually pulled Villarreal level 5 minutes into the second half with an accurate low finish from the edge of the box. And that was a brilliant finish, to say the least. It was a brilliant finish. And Angel Correa, the Argentine, he also had another opportunity, to actually give Atletico Madrid the lead once again. But his shot was just narrowly off target. And then the Spaniard Alvaro Morata fired straight at the goalkeeper, Philip Jorgensen. But albeit he was from a wide angle, Atletico Madrid really scrambled to go front. And, let's just say Jan Oblak also saved the deflected effort from, Yerson Mosquera, at the other end. With the game actually opening up, eventually Saul was the one that stroked home from the edge of the box, soon after coming on from the bench. And although Atletico Madrid, had to nervously wait out, for, VAR, and check for a possible offside, the goal was eventually given, saving them by the skin of their teeth. And then also Villarreal, man, they came close to leveling up deep in stoppage time, when Bertrand Traore's cross, evaded everyone and just flew past, Jan Oblak's far post. But now defeat for Villarreal now leaves them 10th in what has been an underwhelming season for them, but at least, Atletico Madrid are now still in the hunt, for a Champions League spot.